My name is Brian Watson. I'm running for school board, obviously. I've lived in Finneytown now for 21 years. I have 2 kids that have graduated from Finneytown High School, and I have one that is currently a sophomore. My roles within the community: I am the FAA president, which is the Finneytown Athletic Association. I am also a board member of the Finneytown Boosters. I've had several roles throughout the community, helping out with Springfield Township on a variety of events from Winterfest to the Great American Cleanup. I also do other volunteer activities at the school, which includes the stats for the football team, the scorebook for the basketball team. I've been a coach in the FAA for baseball, and I've also been the JV coach at the high school. Throughout my time, I've gotten to meet quite a few people at the high school, to know the administrators in the board office, along with teachers and other administrators throughout the high school and both elementary schools. I feel I have a good working relationship with everybody involved, where basically I sometimes feel like I'm that go-to guy. When they don't have somebody to work the gate, they don't have somebody to do this or that, I'll get a call or a text message just so they know that I'm going to be showing up. I've also been really involved with the community, being president of the FAA and coaching. I've had quite a bit of contact within the community, and of course, just like any other position, people have an opinion on the school, and we've been talking about different things. Most notably would be the turnover at the school, not just the administration, but the teachers. So those are some of the things that I know personally I want to look into, along with other things that have been brought to my attention. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Joyce Lynn Johnson, Joyce for short. I have 2 boys in Finneytown. One's in the 9th grade and one is in the 8th grade. I've been in Finneytown since 2004. I relocated here. I worked for Procter & Gamble for 25 years, and I was just able to take an early retirement in June. And so that's one of the reasons why I decided to run for board, because I have more time now and I really want to get involved. I've worked with a lot of different people over that 25 years versus in this country and outside of this country. I'm currently on several boards. Mine's been a little differently. I'm on the, for the last 2 years, I've been on the WCPO Community Affairs Board. And I'm also on the Drake Auxiliary Patient Board, and they do a lot of work just taking care of their patients in-house. I'm very solution-oriented. I think my skills are critical thinking, creative, out-of-the-box thinking, really wanting to make a change. Given that more than 45% of our student population is African American, I feel like I can really make an impact in that area. I really have a passion for young people. I am raising 2 boys. I'm divorced. My ex-husband's in Texas. And I really, it's really important for me that they get a complete and total education. It's not just about books, but it is about books. My degree is in industrial engineering from the University of Illinois, so education is really important to me. Engagement with my children's school career is very important to me, and empowering them to know that they can do whatever they set their mind to, and me being there to support them. So thank you.
My name is Tony Gast. We moved to Finneytown in December of 1992, and the first of our 7 kids started school in 1994. We've had children in school since then, so we had them lined up pretty much every other year. The last one will graduate in 2019, so we have a freshman and a junior left. Is that enough right there? Okay. Joe's got me, okay, and that's it. Yeah. We've lived in 3 different homes in Finneytown. As our needs increased, and each time we needed a bigger house, we made a conscious decision. We wanted to stay in Finneytown. We were very, very involved in the school. I was appointed to the board in July. I interviewed for the position to fill the rest of the calendar year for Michael Matsko. Immediately, we're busy hiring a facilities director and communications coordinator. I got to interview the facilities director and approve the communications coordinator. It was a really easy decision there. I started volunteering in field with field trips, class parties. I did some grilling, dance chaperone, Lego, robotics coach. It's a very long list. I've done a lot in the PAC, started from teardown. I've also, even before on the board, I was able to work with facilities, long range facility steering committee. I also was Finneytown Music Parents president. 2014, the elementary PTA gave me the Friend of Children's Award. I also had the opportunity to coach baseball, softball, boys soccer, and girls soccer. You can figure out where those opportunities came from. As far as the community as a whole, I've been a member of Northern Hills Christian Church 15 years. I've done a musician there. I've taught nursery through adults, team leaders. I've done mission trips as well as an elder. I also volunteer with the Special Riders Program at What's Right Center. Another qualification I'd like to put in actually is my wife. She's always there with me, but she, if my list sounds like I've been busy, she's been here directly in the schools. But she also has a very good connection socially and just knowing the infamous Finneytown's Moms Network. So I benefit from that as well. Thank you.
Good evening. Hello. I'm Anita Ruffin, and I am seeking re-election to the Finneytown Local School Board. I am running for the 2 years. And if you can look on your program, you will see that I'm running unopposed, but I don't take it lightly that you make a decision about who you vote for. I would first of all like to thank the Finneytown Civic Association as well as the Springfield Township for hosting this important event. I'm a graduate of Miami University with a bachelor's in public administration. I have an MBA from Indiana Wesleyan with an accounting specialization. I have 2 daughters in the district. They are sophomores. I did ask them if they wanted to come tonight. They declined. One said she had homework. The other just rolled her eyes. I would like to be re-elected to the board to continue building on the district's strengths in academics, athletics, and the arts. I would like to be a part of the good work that is being done to educate our children and to prepare our children for college and a career. And I would like to continue working with the community as we face challenges with providing a quality education and in facing those transitions, the transitions in government, legislation, leadership, and demographics. I am Anita Ruffin, candidate for the Finneytown School Board. Thank you.
At our last Finneytown Civic Association meeting last month, we had the superintendent, Mr. Alvison, and also the new communications director there for Finneytown Schools come to our meeting, and we had a lot of good discussions about Finneytown Schools. One of the concerns we have is the declining enrollment of Finneytown schools and the possibility of using open enrollment as a way of improving or increasing the numbers of students here. What is your position on open enrollment? 1 minute each for each candidate.
I would actually, right now, would say I would be opposed to open enrollment. I would like to first focus on the Finneytown residents and the students and find out what it is that's having them move outside of the school district. A lot of the families still stay within Finneytown. However, their kids are going to other schools that are open enrollment. I know a focus will be put, or has been put, on those kids for sports-related transfers to other schools. We're trying within the FAA to build our sports programs and increase our sports programs, and would like to work with the school to keep those in to first see if that's the issue. I know personally a lot of kids that were in my daughter's class went to other schools because of sports. Finneytown is not a sports town. I hate to say it, it is a fine arts, and that's really where the focus needs to be. But I still want to keep the kids that are in Finneytown first, and then see where we're at from there.
Oh, that's right.
I happened to be at that board meeting that was mentioned before, and I actually, from an open enrollment standpoint, I think it depends on how it's done. So I would need to hear some additional details about the structure. Actually, I was one of those parents who was going to actually take their kids out of Finneytown because of some things that I heard, but I decided to stay because if everybody keeps leaving without trying to help understand what the problem is and to correct the problem, then we are going to be facing some very tough choices. So, thank you.
You know, I think open enrollment is something we do need to discuss. We need to find out what problem it's trying to solve and see what other possible causes of those problems are. So I think obviously, you know, one option, one thing, which is the declining enrollment, how many kids are leaving that we could keep, and actually reach out directly to those families and find out. I think some conversations there could help us understand that, but I don't think we can not discuss it. I think we need to look at it, I think we need to and have it always on the radar and find out from the community if it's something that would never be supported or what would be the different criteria there. I know that also the staff would be reached out to. There's been some questions directly, and you know, there's nothing to be pursued and followed up with without significant input from the community. And you know, we have to be within the community. It's not just purely a financial thing. So we can't, you know, go open enrollment despite the input of the staff in the community. That would not be prudent. So.
Well, Tony took exactly what I was going to say, so it makes that kind of challenging. The other reality is that $600,000 leaves our district every year because children are leaving the district. That's a real number. And so there does have to be discussion among the community to understand why children are leaving, and if that's something that we can address and make changes. $600,000 is a real number, and that guides the quality of our education and the ability to have programs that provide a quality education for our children and preparing them for college and career. So definitely is a discussion that we have to have with real numbers, honesty, and transparency to work towards a solution that is viable for this district.
What is your number one priority for Finneytown schools? Anita, we'll start with you. Your number one priority?
The number one priority, I believe, is always quality education and finding the ways that we can engage our children so that they want to stay in school and that they want to perform. So whether that's through quality teaching, through technology, through clubs, through arts, through athletics, any way that we can find to provide a quality education, that's what I believe is our issue, or our challenge.
Well, one thing I would like to look into further is everybody always wants to hear about the scholarships. There's always the top numbers on academics, and then also people are generally really concerned. We like to hear about the support for the students who are struggling. I'm not sure what percentage of our students are in those areas, but I think there's a very solid group of children somewhere in that middle range, anywhere from 50 to 70%. I want to make sure that that we are getting the best for those students. Those students are the ones who are going to, a lot of them will be going to college, but if they're ending up going to college and end up needing remediation, then we haven't been doing a good job, I think. So I think one thing we really need to look at is, are we serving everybody already? What's the middle group looking at? And how can we make sure the instruction for those students is also top quality?
For me, I think the biggest priority for me is those students who we are graduating but not necessarily educating. Because something has to happen to those students once they leave high school, and we want it to be positive. So there's different ways to success. Everybody is not STEM. Everybody is not UC material. So the question for me is finding out what really is going to help that child be supported, be encouraged, and go as far as their God-given potential will get them, so that they can be, like I tell my children, responsible, contributing members of society. And that means you're not living at home in my basement.
I too obviously have to say that education is going to be the primary focus, but how do we get to that education? And it's through the stability of the teachers and administrators at the school. We're losing way too many teachers, good teachers, I can even say great teachers in some aspects, to other school districts. Why are they leaving? Just like anything else, you gotta have, the students have to have the stability to know that the teacher's going to be there to educate them year after year, and we have the best group of teachers and administrators possible. So if we cannot maintain that, we're looking at not having success at the school. So I would really like to find out what the problem is of keeping these great teachers there.
About 85% of the folks in Finneytown do not have students in the school system. As a school board member, how will you improve the communication between the board and the community to get the word out about what's happening in the schools, good or bad, to these 85% of the community that actually, pays taxes to support the school system? So how would you improve the communication to the non-student folks here at Finneytown?
Well, we just hired a new communications director at the school, and obviously that would be her responsibility to do that. I know that she's been working hard to come up with different programs through articles within the Hilltop, the Enquirer, Cincinnati.com, to get information out there. I think more focus does need to be made on our websites and getting that information out to people. I do believe that there are plans to have newsletters that are available to the public to send out. You can sign up for. There's a lot of things that are in the works, I know, but with her being new to the role less than 6-7 weeks ago, these are things that still need to roll out, and I know she's got some great plans ahead.
For me, I think everything is a collaborative effort. We live in this community, and it is our responsibility to make sure that this community is as strong as it possibly can be. And that includes the people who don't have kids in the school. And I think also that means helping educate those folks as well as to what they can do. We have a lot of experience. We need to get those people involved because they've been successful in their life based on whatever they had to do. And so how do we get those folks to help? Because it's not about the teachers, it's not about the administration, it's not about the parents or the students, it's about all of us. And if we all don't look at this as a collaborative effort, it's always about the kids, and that's what we always need to keep our eye on the ball.
I believe the websites and the emails, there's opportunities there, but I do think before we can have much of a base with success there, we do need just some traditional mail sent out there. I know there's additional costs there, but it's an opportunity for people to opt in to have paperless communications, and also have an ongoing effort to make sure that any contact information we have. I also believe there should be a regular cadence of communication, not just from the district, even specifically from the board. There's some board topics such as finances and what we're thinking about, which need to be out there on a regular basis that people can receive and just know what thoughts are even going on. I know that we have some opportunities which may not be well advertised yet, and we just need to get the word out on those all the better and have people come in. And I think we also need to be reaching out directly to some people, just our neighbors, and find out what's going on. It's a real critical part of our community.
I think it's incumbent upon the school to be a good citizen or a good neighbor within the neighborhood. So what that might look like, or evidence of that, is when the children from the music classes go to Brookdale to perform and to share what they're doing and what they learn. I think another example of us being a good citizen and a good neighbor is when we invite the community in the parade, the homecoming parade. We shut down the street and we invite everyone to come and we throw out candy and we celebrate our band and what we're doing. So I think it's incumbent upon us as a school to invite our citizens, our neighbors in and share what we're doing, and then that builds loyalty and it builds relationship, and then you want to support who you are friends with and who you have relationship with.
We've heard a lot about, around the country, about Common Core, the whole concept of that. What is your opinion of Common Core and the federal mandated testing situation? We'll start with you.
I was thinking about maybe letting Tony start first or Joy start first. Common Core is a way in which we understand education. It's a philosophy, I guess we could say, of how education is presented to our students. It's a method. Federal testing, there's good and bad. I mean, I do believe that our children are over-tested, but we do have to test our children to know whether or not they understand or have an understanding of the subject matter in which they've been asked to learn. There are some things that will be out of our control based on the fact of who we have elected into our offices. And that's the nature of education because it is governed by our state and by the federal government to a certain extent. So we as a district will respond accordingly as we are mandated, and then we will fight as we need to fight and stand up against that as we need to stand up against that. And I got the sign to stop.
Yeah, this is one area where having my wife very active in volunteering classroom at Whitaker has been a great advantage for me. She's been able to see both the techniques and how some of the kids can really benefit from the specific ideas of Common Core, but also what an outrageous catastrophe the testing software and the way it was delivered, and even at times the challenges and then demanding it being delivered through computers, and the schools challenged to even stay up to have enough functioning computers to do that. At the same time, our budgets are being stretched in other ways. This is another thing that was put on there. So, there's definitely some advantages to the ideas behind Common Core. It wasn't designed in a complete vacuum, just with people looking to make money. But then the testing systems came in, and with my IT background, I knew there's no way they could do it well, and not surprisingly, they had a pretty spectacular failure going through that. So the testing has been the problem to date, and even with the goodness that can be in aspects of the Common Core curriculum.
Common Core, I had to educate myself on that, and I'm like, that is crazy. But, and when I say crazy, I understand the logic in terms of to get kids to think differently, but it is very different than the way I was taught how to do things. But I applaud the aspect about the critical thinking and that kind of thing, because our kids do need to have the critical thinking. What I don't, we need to do testing, okay? But what I don't want that to do is to pigeonhole my child to say, you did poorly on this test, so you can't be successful. And so we got to do the test, but I think we got to take that in the right perspective. Again, everybody is not STEM, okay? Everybody doesn't love math. I love math. So when my son doesn't get it, it bothers me, okay? It really bothers me. But I try to encourage him and support him in other ways. So we got to do it because that's legislation. If we want to change it, we got to change legislation. Thank you.
I would agree that Common Core is definitely needed, the critical thinking aspect of it. But when it comes to the testing, it seems like my daughter, all she does is study for tests. And what that does for her in the real world, I don't know. I mean, she doesn't even know how to sign her name in cursive. And we are having to do tests over and over and over, week after week. We're not teaching them the common core things that really are needed in society. They have no clue. My son, stepson is a junior in college. He's changed his, what I was telling him earlier, he changed his major 3 times. And I asked him, because he started doing some of that testing as he was graduating, asked him what aspects of those did it help you in college? And he said none. But he didn't get the full force of the college, or of the testing. But he did say that the education that he was getting outside of the testing at Finneytown was really helpful when he felt that he was really ahead when he got to college because of the education he was getting. And they're not giving that anymore because they're so focused on the testing.
Let's put this wire in front next time.
Oh, that's a great idea.
That's critical thinking skills right there.
See right there. That's way more common core, you know what I mean? We have cards here. If you have any questions you want to write down, we got a few more studies, demographic studies for several years, and we've noticed, and everybody else knows, that Finneytown is now getting a lot more kids who are in poverty, and I think we are concerned about that, and it's a big challenge. What do you think the challenges are, and how do you think you could deal with some of the challenges? The question is, the growing poverty rate here in Finneytown over the last few years it creates a challenge for us. How do you intend to deal with the increasing poverty rate?
Well, I don't think I would have obviously personally deal with it. The school has the different programs obviously available, free lunch programs. They offer other assistance at the school that people may not know about. They have a free store up at the school. Other programs that reach out to the families within the community to try to assist as much as possible. I know they have free breakfast even before school even starts. So those are some of the things that the school's actually doing. But I don't know what other programs that might be able to look at this time.
Okay, thank you. I think this is a great question. I came from a very high poverty area as a child, and I had the encouragement of my mom, and that was invaluable. But one of the things I think that we need to look at is that because we are now, things have changed since Finneytown 20, 30 years ago. And that's real. And so the question for me is, what other things can we bring into the school to help support folks so that their kids are not disruptive in class, and that, again, we engage them in the right way so they can find something that they love to do and know that they can be successful in it. So I think I'm taking a grant writing class. And I know that there's money out there, and I think we need to start looking at pursuing more of that money to bring some of those programs in to help broaden what the kids are getting exposed to.
I really think that the key is having contact points with the parents. The staff, are doing different ways of reaching out, but I think it has to go beyond that. I think a lot of it needs to be even people not in any way, shape, or form associate with the school district. Ways to get families to know each other and understand that they stop using the word them or stop using the word demographic as if it's a swear word of some kind. There's some baggage that comes along with that. There is a higher propensity for education not to be valued in the home. That's part of the reason they're probably in poverty. And getting that level, getting engaged with the parents, they're human beings. They care about their kids. There's very few people out there who have no regard for children's well-being. I believe reaching out human to human and engaging them and bringing them in, they will want to have that same higher standard, that Joyce's mom wanted to have for her. So the school can't solve the problem by itself. It has to be everybody. It has to be that 85% also, getting another neighbor, and just as a human first before worrying about anything else.
I think first we have to realize that poverty, the increase of poverty, is not a Finneytown issue. This is a nationwide issue. Okay, so that's the first thing that I think we have to put on the table. So while we are struggling to understand how poverty affects our education and even how it affects our relationships, this is not a problem that is in isolation. I think one of the keys to dealing with that is to build relationships and to build community. I think another thing is to be aware of our unconscious bias and how that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy and how we deal with others. So if we think that a child is not able to be educated, then we don't try to educate that child. But if we think that it's a child and that child, by nature of being a child, is worthy of love, worthy of respect, and worthy to be educated, then our practices then can follow that. And finally, I think that we need to become a learning community so that we can learn what the best practices is of other communities who are having the same struggles and how they're overcoming that. That's just my 2 cents.
What are your thoughts about dumbing down the AP courses?
Actually, the best response to that is in my email. I don't think the AP courses are being dumbed down. And that's as far as I can give you. They're not being dumbed down. It's giving children an opportunity to have college courses and college credit while they're in high school. They're not being dumbed down. Trust me, my child, the one that rolled her eyes, took an AP class and actually did better than I expected her to do based on her attitude and her receptivity to being in an AP class. And I guarantee you, it wasn't dumbed down.
Did she pass the exam?
Would you believe it? She did. And I shouldn't feel like, I shouldn't act as if I'm shocked. But the level of, her level of study and her receptivity to it was the opposite of being, if you would think that she would pass, but she did. She got a 4. And I'm just as surprised as all of you.
So the material can't be dumbed down. The material is from an organization. However, I can tell you that expanding it has caused stress on the staff. Not all the staff was, really up to par to doing that. And with that comes the challenge of assessment, and the staff not doing well with materials either needs to be, other staff do it instead of them, or they need to be brought up to speed. I know one of the advantages of being here for quite a long time and seeing a lot of AP classes is I knew the instructor, and even the instructor himself said they'd never get through the materials and with the AP history, and he struggled to do so. And he actually left the district to move with his family, but there would have been remediation, there would have been additional training, he would have been helped to come up to speed so he could deliver the same quality. So the stress right now has been needing more people who can teach at that level and getting people up to speed with that. That was known to be a challenge to start with.
I just actually learned, well, I'm sure I knew about it, but it didn't get on my radar screen because my kids are not in that space yet. But I heard a parent say that she moved her child out of Finneytown because they were letting the riffraff in AP classes, and I just kind of was about to not go to a good place. I like the idea of broadening and expanding kids' thoughts. So I would rather my son get a C in an AP class than get an A in a regular class, because he's going to be exposed to more material. So that's just me. But I also think we need to, and this is overall, not just in AP classes, if there are people being disruptive in AP classes, they need to be expectations, and those expectations need to be followed through, something that is meaningful to them. I know my child has, I know what it's important to him, and I know, I have one more minute. And so therefore I need to make sure that the impact of his behavior is addressed. Thank you.
I've actually had a bad experience with an AP class with my daughter, so I may be on the other side of it. I do agree that there is a need for the AP class. My problem with it, and this is through different things I've heard through either the supervisor or the superintendent's advisory committee or other teachers, that they have a goal to get X amount percentage inside of the AP classes over a certain period of time. So I think, personally, I'm seeing it as that's what they're looking at. They're not qualifying the students that are actually going into those classes first to see if they should be in there. My daughter got a B in, I don't even remember what it was, in her 8th grade year, so they're like, you should be in AP. Well, the teacher didn't even know the material. There was nobody else there that could help her study. And I actually found it kind of funny that the teacher said there's only one other class taking this, and it's the senior class, but they're behind where you guys are. So how can the seniors be behind where a sophomore is? It just feels like that they're just trying to rush everybody into the AP classes to get their statistics where they want them.
I want to do some more talking about AP classes here. To address all the issues we've discussed tonight, would you support Finneytown merging with another school district?
Absolutely not. Finneytown is Finneytown. We are Finneytown, and I want to remain Finneytown. We have a great community here, great base of teachers, great base of parents in the community willing to help. There is absolutely no reason to merge with another school district.
I feel like if we did decide to do that, we would just be giving up. So at this point, I would say I don't think that there's anything that we've talked about tonight that can't be addressed in a positive manner, where, you know, that would be the last thing that I would say we need to even think about at this point, is merging with another school district.
So I'm going to coin a phrase, Finneytown exceptionalism. I mean, maybe I'm just trying to cover up my bad decisions to stay here all these years after other, yeah, but every time I'm wondering, is it just me? Is it, am I just confused? Do I really see these kids wanting to do things? Something else, you know, we have a new high school principal, we have a new communications director, and both of them take many opportunities to say, really, they've been in other schools. This isn't their first rodeo. And they find kindness, they find respect. And there's obviously incidents we do have. I'm not saying we don't have bullying, I'm not saying we don't have any problems. But as a body of students, there's something that comes up, and when you come into that, we have lots of new students every year. And it doesn't change just that overall aspect. I have 2 daughters in education in college now. Both of them, they get taught, here's how you deal with this, and they have to tell the other students they didn't see that prevailing at their school. I'm very excited to be here, and I can't imagine a situation where we'd improve by merging.
I think Finneytown is a unique place, and I feel honored to be here and to be a part of Finneytown and what Finneytown has to offer. I don't know the future. I don't have a crystal ball. So to the extent that Finneytown can remain viable as Finneytown and can do the things that we've all talked about and find solutions to the questions and the issues that we have, and we can do that as Finneytown, I'm all for it. But if we can't do that, then we have to make some hard decisions about open enrollment, which would be included in that, merging, which would be included in that. We have to look at all the solutions that are available to us to make sure that we are doing what's in the best interest of all of our children.
why don't you take 1 minute each and just do a little summary of what you're planning on doing for the next 2 years for you, 4 years for the 3 candidates.
I plan to keep listening. I plan to keep working with whoever's on the board, as well as the administration and my community. And most importantly, plan to keep on being a mom to 2 girls who are currently in the Finneytown School District.
I'd like to, have more people comfortable discussing things in person, through email, any-way contact. And I want to have more opportunities to get things out there earlier in discussions. I'm an IT specialist. I've had a lot of success, but one thing I've learned more than anything else is you never know where the idea, which is just going to make you feel like you've been looking in the wrong place, how long it's going to come from. We have a lot of people here, and they might be, one of the people living in poverty we're thinking could be an issue. They're going to have an idea which is so simple, that's so elegant, that we need to act on and embrace. And we might have lots of also very experienced and talented people who've had very successful careers that they're going to have ideas. If we get out there what we're thinking about, what problems we're facing, I really want the input. I really want to hear what ideas are out there, because I know that it doesn't matter what I think I'm good at, somebody's going to have a great answer, sometimes a lot better than mine.
I'm one of those people who like to ask the hard questions, and again, always driving to solutions. But we gotta be transparent. We have to put everything on the table. And with that, collaborative, having the right people in the room to have the conversations that we need to have, and not letting anything get in the way of those conversations. So you're not offending me, I'm not offending you. We just need to put everything on the table, because if you don't put everything on the table, how are you going to get the best solution? And I think we just need to have engagement and across the board. Again, it's not about one particular group of people, it's about all of us. And that includes the students, okay? Back in my day, my mom didn't ask me anything. She's like, you gonna do this. And that's what I did. But now, I want my kids, because we're trying to raise adults that are gonna think for themselves. And if we don't start asking these kids what's going on, then we missed a very important aspect.
When I go to the board meetings on each month, I can tell that there's something wrong within the community by how many people are sitting in the Board of Education office as soon as I walk in. You'll either have 60 people in there, can't get in the door, or you'll have 5 people in there. Obviously, when the 60 people walk in, there's something wrong. That's the only time people in the community seem to want to be engaged. I want to open those lines of communications and get people engaged with the school every month. Whether it's coming to the board meetings, whether it's forming committees, getting town hall meetings, whatever. I want to hear about the good things, and I want the community involved in the good things as well. That's where we're lacking. We're more of reactive than proactive here. And we need to get back to being proactive within a school district and getting people involved in the community, parents, students, everybody, so that we can move forward.
I'll tell you folks, you guys have impressed me, all of you tonight, and I'm excited about the future of our school district. Thank you so much.